So the workplace, total catastrophe. I know. It didn't start off this way, but it got that way as I went along. Anyway, I'm making a trailer for my RC boat that I just got recently so that I can pull it behind my Traifinder 2, which is right there. I just bought a myriad of this aluminum channel stuff. It was like, I can't remember, it was like $8 for a length of it, and it's a good 4 feet long. As well as one piece. I bought 3 of the channel and 1 piece of this, which is another 4 foot length. Of course, I'm not even going to need nearly that much, I don't think, but we'll see. My plan is kind of coming to me as I go along. So far, the frame is as such completed. I can't really. There we go. I managed to cut off small short pieces of that angle rod that we were just looking at there. The angle, there we go, is over top of the outside of the channel type aluminum. I just drilled holes, and I had just all sorts of this hardware left over from one of my helicopters, so I just using that. So it looks kind of like that, and it's, of course, it's not together. I gotta build some more braces to go across to support it, but yeah, we'll just do several vids documenting this as I go. Okay, so I have the basic frame finished here. You can see the whole thing. The tongue, I figure, I've tried to make the whole trailer about 31 inches in total length. The boat hull is 26, and the rudder sticks off another 3 or 4 inches. So the nose of the boat should probably come to somewhere around here if I let the rudder hang off the if I let the rudder hang off the back. Focus. I'm kind of hoping that that's how it'll work out, and I'll be able to. At this point, the only thing I really need to do is put a couple of cross members, one around here somewhere, to go right across, and then I can build the runners for the boat to run onto, and then of course I got to mount some wheels on either side. But for now, it's shaping up pretty good. It's going to be a good length. The boat itself is a little small for a 1/10 scale, but it'll look okay. It's still bigger than the truck, so so far so good. Okay, so the trailer story continues. I'm working on the axle. I've been straining my brain. I wanted to put suspension in this thing, but I just gave up on that idea and figured if I'm going to do it, I'll probably do it sometime later when I can buy some leaf springs or something that'll work best. But so for now, I'm just putting a solid axle mounted right to the frame. Obviously, I'm not a whole lot farther ahead than the last time you looked, but as it turns out, I'm going to be using an axle shaft within an axle tube, which I've made here. This was an old torque tube shaft out of a helicopter, so I'm using a lot of old helicopter parts in this, but so I've cut it to length. It'll fit right between here, and while I was putting it together, there were holes in the end that hold one of the torque tube spline drives on a helicopter, and it just happened to line up with the end of this here screw that I had put through to hold this bracket on. And as it turns out, by dumb luck, it's the right size a hole, and it fits in there, so it basically acts like a locator pin when the axle's in place. It doesn't move side to side. So when I cut this tube to length, I drilled a hole through the other side, and I honestly hadn't given much consideration to what the actual width was, but by dumb luck, again, I just happened to hit the hole right in the right spot. So the locator pins fit in the holes. I can't do it with one hand, but they fit in the holes, and the axle fits in there tight as a drum. And once I have the axle shafts in the center, that'll hold the axle from falling off. So yeah, I've kind of got a plan together. The wheels that I'm going to be using are they're toy wheels. They're actually out of a Meccano set that my son had, and he said he's not using these anymore. He'd rather see them on a trailer, and they're about the right size. They're just a pinch smaller than on my truck here. It's kind of hard to see, but they're just a shade shorter, which trailer wheels should be anyway. So yeah, these will work out good. Going to carry forward and hopefully have an axle mounted shortly. Okay, just a little extra on this axle mounting. You can see I got one wheel mounted here. It's a little stiff. It doesn't freewheel real good, but it's definitely not hanging up in any way. It's not going to cause any drag, and I imagine after it gets used for a bit, it'll probably loosen up some more. The wheel itself actually turns freely, like the axle itself doesn't spin. So the wheel is just freewheeling on the axle itself. So it's an inner axle shaft mounted within this black axle tube here. I just wanted to give you kind of a blow-by on what I did. These toy wheels in this Meccano set, I was trying to use these springs, but it obviously ain't going to happen. But I've been using some of the spacers and stuff. It comes with all sorts of little spacers like these BBs here. I'm going to be using them. They're in place over here, right inside between this flange and the wheel itself, and that just gives me enough space for the wheel not to touch, so that's perfect. But what I wanted to do was a blow-by of how I put this together. So I took one of the axle shafts that came in this kit. It's just a little steel shaft. It's kind of triangular. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but anyway, it's triangular. And the wheel spins real nice on it, but it makes it a little weird to try and capture something on the outside. So what I did was I cut a groove. Hopefully that shows up here. Let's see if we can get that to focus. There. I cut a groove in the end of the axle and used an E-clip on it, and then put a washer. So the washer obviously is captured by the E-clip, and then the wheel can roll freely on the axle and not fall off the end. So that's what it looks like on here. Of course, there's the E-clip and the washer, and then the wheel just spins. And I took those. So I put the axle into the wheel, and then took two of these black spacers. Where did I put there? Then put two black spacers on to the shaft, and then there are some other spacers that I used to secure, or rather to have this central in this tube, because the tube is too big for the axle itself. So there were some spacers like these, but they were a smaller outside diameter that I just put on the end of a drill bit, sanded down so that they would fit nice and tight in here. I shoved one into about here, and another one is right in the end, and in between them I put a rubber, it was like an elastic band, but it was fitting perfectly inside the ID of this, and it's snug against the axle shaft, so it helps keep the axle from moving around. But I wasn't happy with how snug, because the axle could still walk out. So what I did was, with the holes that are sitting here on this axle tube, the inside spacer is right in line with it. So I took a drill, went through the spacer, and on the other side I put the axle shaft through, and then I stuffed a grub screw in there to pin it down. Crap, this thing won't focus. So the grub screw, there we go, is in there, and it holds the axle nice, doesn't come off, doesn't walk out. So I'm not like going to be putting excessive force on it or anything like that. It's just a roll. So yeah, that's how I pull it off. So I'm going to stuff this side together, carry on, and maybe the next step we'll see some more cross members going on here, and of course on the other side, and we'll get it finished up. Okay, so it's looking more and more like a trailer now. Wheels are on. Tongue is all the way up to there. Put some cross braces in since the last piece of vid. So now just to work on the part that's supposed to supports the boat. I guess it would be the ramps. I don't know if you call them exactly, the runners or something. But I've cut off lengths this long, and I'm gonna notch them out on one end, mount them to these rails. So there's gonna be 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be enough. And then between them, I'm gonna run a flat stretch of, well, flat aluminum that goes between them, and I will have it on an angle, and I'll cover it. I'm actually going to steal an idea that someone else had suggested they used on their trailer, said it worked really good, which was to stick the fuzzy side of Velcro on it. So we'll see how this turns out, and hopefully the next vid will be with the trailer darn near complete. The only thing remaining would be the tongue and the hitch for the truck, so I will shoot that after I get this stuff done. Alright, so the runners are on. I've had those pillars that I showed you before. They're mounted in place, obviously, all 4 there, and then the runners along the top. I had a problem. Originally I had mounted them a little too far inside. There's a hole here. The other one's on the other side over here, and so they were standing about here. And when I put the boat on, it was way narrow, looked stupid. It just didn't look right. So when I moved these out, this actually lines up darn near exactly with the outside edge of the hull, and there's a little lip on the edge of the hull that pretty much catches this. So I think this is going to work out really, really well. The other problem was I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and when I first put these rails on, if you look down them right now, they're pretty darn even level with one another. I had one that was a little tall, so I ended up taking it all apart and grinding, and oh, it was a sad story. But at any rate, that's all together. So now I'm working on building the lead stop. So when the boat comes up, it has to hit something and stop, so it doesn't run into the truck. And I'm working on, it's actually right here, a leg that I can put on here somewhere around this area, and then I'll put a support on it, and then a stop at the top, which I've already cut out. So at any rate, that's where we're at right now with the runners. We'll come back in a bit when I've got the rest of the nose put together, and then we'll work on the hitch. Okay, the runners are, this is actually finished, but I just know that the last place I left off, I think, was with the runners before they were covered. So I used that Velcro on the runners, covered them up. So that worked out really good. Actually, the Velcro was exactly the same width as the runners were. So this does a really good job, and it looks good. Finished off with the front tongue here, I don't know, the front stop, I guess you could say. I'll have to cut this off, I forgot about that. But at any rate, the front stop here for the nose of the boat when it comes up the ramp or onto the trailer, somewhere for it to stop. This here was the trickiest part, I think, on the whole thing to make. I had to cut, and I had to shape it and bend it, and it's aluminum and it wanted to break, so I had to heat it a bunch, but I got it all together. And then just cut a hole here. This is my trailer hitch idea. Used a canopy grommet from a helicopter. Hopefully this thing will focus. There we go. Cut the hole, put the canopy grommet in, and that does that. And the way it works is I had made a hitch for my truck where I used a linkage ball for the hitch itself. So that should suffice. It actually hooks up real nice, so we'll put the trailer on here. My assistant will just pop it through. There we go. And it stays just right. Alright, so we're going to do a boat launch here with the Traifinder and the new trailer that I built for my boat. Hopefully I can pull off a turnaround and get it backwards in without dragging the rudder too much. There's some geese here, so we're going to be mellow. Oh, there's the rudder. See what happens here. There we go, try to get the back wheels down. Get closer, bud. Get down low. Over to the side a bit if you could. Over here. There's some big rocks, so I don't know if this is going to work.
That's the rudder. Are you gonna make it?
The trailer's gonna go off an edge here, so it's gonna look pretty silly.
Yep, there it goes.
And that's gonna be good. Big rocks here, so I gotta figure out how to get this thing in on the right angle. There's a lot of slime too. I don't want to go off that edge. Nope, that ain't gonna do it. Come.
Dog and geese going nuts in the background.
There we go. Sort of.
There we go. Finally, it's out.
Be a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Okay. Matter of fact, coming out of there. Okay, let's see if this works.
Let's see if this boat works. Now, let's get a run at it. That thing really does give a really good rooster tail.
Okay, I'll just let it sit there for a second.
To the ground so the cement holds.
No, that's not what it's just a bolt for securing something else.
Right. But it's definitely for real boats, I can tell you that. The boat's just sitting way out
We're gonna
there.
try that. Okay, time for recovery.
Line it up. And touchdown.
Hopefully we got a little jam.
Oh, what a launch and recovery.
Keep on the boat.
Wow.
So ultimately this is the finished product. I've kind of shown it already. Just a quick overview. Axles and wheels, or the wheels rather, toys, mechano set. Axle tube, helicopter torque tube, once upon a time. Axles themselves inside, toy mechano set. To make the side rails, just cut a length of this aluminum channel. Right here, actually, this is the worst side, of course. The other side looks better, but I didn't know. I misjudged the angle I thought it would be, and cut too much out of it. But I heated it and just bent it here, and that actually has held really good. I was surprised at how strong it seemed to be. So heated and bent so that it would be one piece all down the end. I was afterthought. I was thinking I could probably have done the same thing back here. And gotten one piece frame. That would have been pretty cool. But this piece here I cut out. It's got a tab here, and it's actually got a tab on the inside that I had to bend into place. Right there. And it's bolted in. It doesn't look the prettiest on the inside. In the end, though, functionality actually does its job really well. The front tongue, I actually accidentally dropped the trailer right on the end of the tongue and mangled this a little bit, so I've got to reshape it. But just a canopy grommet in a hole cut out for the right size for it. Fits perfect over the ball stud that I'm using for a trailer hitch. Pulled it around a little bit. It's a little squeaky. I can't figure out why it's squeaky, but it's got something to do with the way the axles and wheels are mounted, obviously, so I'll look into it, but no big deal, just noise. And then this is just to hold the boat from actually falling off. Collapsible, I flip it up, drop this, and then I can do a launch. And then when the boat is back on, whoop, one hand's a little hard, flip it up. I can't see it very well. Pop it down like that, and then this little top edge here catches the bottom side of the hull just enough to keep it from sliding off the back. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with the finished product. I have never ever taken anything like I've never fabbed anything from scratch. I just bought all the materials and cut them to lengths and bolted them together with hardware I had kicking around. So believe you me, if I can pull this kind of thing off, pretty much anybody can. The most elaborate piece of equipment I've got in here is right there. It's a drill press. Everything else I did with a hacksaw, hand drill, Dremel with a cutoff wheel. So, you know, if you're intrepidatious and you got a little bit of an idea in mind, I'm sure you could pull it off. Hope you like it. Maybe it'll help you build yours. Thanks.